Welcome to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I am so excited to be here with you tonight. Thank you so much for joining. As you know, growers are the superstars of the cannabis industry, and there's nothing more valuable than to learn from the best. Well, tonight I have a special treat for you and a special treat for me too. This is really a dream come true. We have the world's leading expert on cannabis cultivation with us here tonight, Ed Rosenthal. Ed, welcome to Calling All Growers. Thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be with you tonight.
So, Ed, this is such an honor for me to talk with you tonight and to help spread your gospel of ganja even farther, because you are known as the guru of ganja. Now, for those watching who don't know who you are, who've been maybe living under a rock, just allow me to give the 420,000 foot view on who Ed Rosenthal is. Ed is a living legend. He's sold over 1 million copies of his books that teach people to grow cannabis and about the beauty of cannabis. Ed is also a professor at Oaksterdam University, and he's one of the greatest cannabis advocates of all time. He's an integral and vocal part of the movement since the 70s, and he's since helped guide the passage of California's Prop 215. Has become a thought leader and lightning rod in the cannabis justice is social justice space. So, Ed, it's a pleasure, it's a joy to have you on. I have to ask the burning question: who taught you to grow?
I was always interested in plants and in growing plants. And so I took classes at the New York Botanical Gardens as a child and continued taking classes. So nobody taught me specifically to grow marijuana, but I had an idea of how to grow plants in general.
So you were just pulled to it from a very young age.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I thought that I would be a plant geneticist when I grew up.
Wow. What
Pretty
kind
close.
of plant? I'm sorry.
Pretty close.
Yeah, exactly. What types of plants did you envision yourself growing, I wonder, and creating?
Well, I was into a lot of house plants because of my circumstances in the Bronx, but I was drawn to vegetables and to growing vegetables.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, not too far off. I mean, you are certainly, again, the world's leading expert on cultivation, and you breeding as well and genetics. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But I really want to know, and I know a lot of our audience wants to know as well, what made you dedicate your life to cannabis, not just growing, but the activism part of it?
Well, people know me for cannabis, but that's only part of my life. So, but I have more. I have more interest than just cannabis. But when I first met cannabis and tried it, I realized that cannabis was an ally, and that I was going to have a long-term relationship with it. And as a matter of fact, it's the female that I've had the longest term relationship with. So.
That's incredible. Yeah, she'll never let you down.
Well,
right?
she doesn't let you hide the truth either from yourself or from, basically from yourself. She helps with that a lot.
Absolutely. And I think that that's the reason why there are still opponents to, the proliferation and abundance that should exist when it comes to any plant,
Yeah.
especially one as magical as this. I believe that people are afraid of it and what she will reveal about them.
Well, politicians for one don't like it.
Mhm.
Uh, because they look in the mirror and they say, who's the most popular? And cannabis is more popular than any politician, and they just can't stand that. And but think of it, who would you rather spend an evening with some good marijuana or some blowhard politician telling you his vision for taking over the world? So I think that there's been a lot of governmental opposition to it because it's necessarily uh, not tolerant of uh, not tolerant of hypocrisy. Pretty much.
Mm. Right, right. Hypocrisy can exist when it's just only the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes the truth is ugly. Um, but you certainly know much more about that than I, having been advocating so hard for over 3 decades. So I've picked up your latest book, The Cannabis Growers Handbook, and I highly recommend anybody listening or watching to get this book for so many reasons. It's beautifully organized. It's easy to reference, beautiful photos. It feels really good in your hand, and it looks really great on the coffee table, I have to say. So congratulations on this book. But I was thrilled to see that Steve D'Angelo did the preface.
Yes. Well, we were in the same political organization, the Yippies, and got a lot of our outlook on life from being in that organization. So it's
Wow.
it wasn't just an organization, but it there was a definite theory of life in there on how to live, and Steve is a good example of it.
Right. Oh, he told me that I had the fortune of having a conversation with him about his uh, journey with cannabis, and he told me that you taught him to grow.
Yeah.
Your guides and just being your friend.
Yes.
Who else have you taught to grow? Who other notable figures? I mean, everyone, like
Uh,
Snoop, Wiz.
yeah. Well, I have a pretty the book. My books have been pretty popular, so uh, and I try to do my best in them to introduce people to cultivation and help them do the best that they can at it. So, so
Right.
yeah. So sometimes I think that it's interesting having being responsible for helping people grow. It's really a good feeling.
Right. You're helping them, grow their medicine and have a healthy hobby, that
Yes.
brings them energy and, joy and something they can be proud of. What a beautiful calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your iconic column in High Times magazine also taught many people to grow.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It was there at a crucial time because now we have the internet and people aren't afraid to talk about cannabis. And there, so many people felt totally isolated. They might have been, one of just a few people that they knew who was using it. They might have been growing it and been afraid to have their relatives over. You know,
mhm. Don't go in
so,
that closet, Mom. Don't go in that closet.
so so people had a um, so people, this was a means of communication. And so that was really helpful, I think, to people.
Yeah, people feel like they know you personally because of that.
Well, the thing was, I did, most people had um, my my scale of risk to reward was different than many other people's, because they were interested in their risk and their reward, and I was interested in not only my risk but the risk that society had, being such a militaristic and anti-society, in so many ways, racially and other ways. And I saw that as a risk. And I never thought of cannabis as a personal risk that I would be harmed for politically, or, jailing or anything like that. I never considered that risk. Wasn't part of the calculus. I mean, other people did. Other people felt that. I feel I lost a lot of friends when I was younger, of people who did not want to be around somebody who was out on the edge there. But I just never felt that.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
People would.
well, I wasn't dealing. That was one thing. So, they weren't going to get me in a deal. I mean, the only cannabis they'd get for that would be as if I gave cannabis away, which I feel funny about. I'd feel funny if I were selling it. So.
Right.
So I don't think that if I gave cannabis away, that would make a good trial for them. So,
No.
did you pay for it? Well, I didn't pay for it. I said I needed some cannabis. He gave me some. So, yeah.
No, that would be, the opposite of what they would want to do. At every turn, they try to villainize it and make it seem so dark and dirty and bad. And it's like, it's just a plant. Like, what?
Well, I think that a lot of the people who were prosecuting and persecuting people for it knew that it was not a problem, and some of them, I think, a good percentage of them were really mean people who like to ruin people's lives. They were very a lot of the narcs were very sadistic. What they wanted to do was to ruin your life. That was their goal. How many people can we bring down? And you know, and they knew, that it wasn't a harmful substance. So
Right.
I think a lot of them were jealous because the people were having a better life than they were. Like a lot of growers and dealers, they were living a better life than the cops were. Made the cops jealous. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They have to put them back in their place.
Well, also, with other drugs, like if you take the opiates or a lot of the stimulants, you can feel sorry for the people, you can sympathize, you can empathize, and, they're dysfunctional. But with cannabis, people aren't generally dysfunctional. So, all of their theories went down the drain, and that's why they had a special enmity against cannabis users. But they were living a better life than the users were living a better life than the cops were.
Wow.
First of all, the cops were all in those uncomfortable shoes to begin with. That's the first stuff. That's
the first problem. What are you doing in the shoes, man?
They're carrying like 30 pounds of equipment on them, the guns, the baton, all that stuff. So
yeah.
So
some of them had to wear stupid hats, like that probably squeeze their heads.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. So I mean, what you did, what Steve did, and those around you, really showed that love will overcome and that common sense will overcome and that no, you can't stop science and you can't stop the proliferation and the growth of this plant. We're going to grow it no matter what the rules are. I'm from Texas. I'm having this. I'm conducting this interview from Texas, and so I'm acutely aware of the war that's happening against plants still. And the insight that you're providing is eye opening. But at the end of the day, I feel that empathizing, with those who are trying to oppress and continuing to take the high road because I'm higher than they are. I feel that will win over in Texas, but you're a big inspiration to a lot of people here in the Lone Star State.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, guys, unfortunately, we have to pause the conversation for a break for messages from our sponsors. But when we come back, we will still have the guru of ganja. Excuse me. I got ganja on my mind. The guru of ganja, Ed Rosenthal, with us to talk all things growing. And I want to remind you that the chat rooms are open. So if you have a question for Ed, Ed, would you be up for opening or answering a few questions if some come across?
Be happy to.
This is a dream come true for all of us, my people. Seriously, ask Ed, ask him your burning questions. The chat room is open. And also, guys, in 2 weeks, we will have the Calling All Growers webinar. Okay, this is a hands-on experience. It's a closed webinar where you get one-on-one interaction with an expert grower. Next week, we have Mark Huard of Hole in the Wall Cultivation with us. He is an excellent educator, and he'll be on with us at the very end of the show to give us a sneak peek into what we can expect for in 2 weeks for our webinar. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We have Ed Rosenthal, Calling All Growers. See you soon.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.
Hi, my name is Janice O'Reilly. I'm a partner with AAF CPAs, a national CPA firm that specializes in cannabis. We're based out of Boston. We have been working with Adaptive HR for several years and have recommended them to our clients, who have all been extremely happy with their service and their responsiveness.
Calling All Growers with Liz Grow is supported by the Grow Kit from stylelighting.shop, Adaptive HR, built for your cannabis business, Revolutionary Clinics, where the patient comes first, by Accounting Buds, your accountant in cannabis, and by Salient Video Surveillance Systems for today and tomorrow's security.
Welcome back to Calling All Growers, everyone. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I'm here tonight with the world's leading expert on cannabis cultivation, Ed Rosenthal. If you guys have questions, the chat room is open. So this is actually your chance to ask Ed. So if you have a burning growing question or really any question you want to ask Ed, ask away. And I have some little elves who will let me know when questions come up because I'm immersed in this conversation. But before we dive back in, I want to remind you that we do have a growers webinar in 2 weeks on April 27th at 8 p.m. You can register using the link on the procannabismedia.com webpage. So go there, register, space is limited, and you will have the opportunity to learn from the best. We will have Mark Huard of Hole in the Wall Cultivation with us in 2 weeks. But right now, we have the guru of ganja, Ed Rosenthal, back with us. We were just talking before the break about advocacy and all the advocacy work that Ed has done and effective advocacy. And I often think that the best type of cannabis advocacy, the most effective, is growing your own, growing your own, growing your own. So I have to ask, Ed, are you growing anything right now?
You know, I just put up a couple of dozen auto flowers from different company seeds: Tao, Humboldt, Purple Caper. So,
Okay. All right. So what stage are they in? How many weeks?
no, I just germinated them.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
just germinated.
I mean, they're not germinated yet. I just planted them.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't been growing this winter because I had other projects that I had to work on, and so but this crop should be in 3 months.
Ooh, cool. Well, come back.
Yeah,
Come back and show it off.
yeah, and then I'll put and right before that crop ends, this crop ends, I'll germinate seeds maybe a month before, and I'm going to grow like a fast maturing plant. So,
A fast maturing plant.
like,
Can you say more about that?
well, I have several to choose from. I might grow several of them, but different seed companies have some really quick maturing things.
Oh,
So we'll try them.
so do you ever bomb? Is there, have you, I mean, when was the last time that it just didn't work out between you and a cannabis plant?
Oh, well, you know what? My wife calls me a plant torturer because I, well, because I do all kinds of experiments on them, and very frequently the plants suffer as a result of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of dark.
So, it's for the good of the plants in general.
I know it's for the good of the plants and for the good of all of us learning, the innovation that
Right.
comes from the torture,
Right.
and the secrets. So we do have a question from the chat room. What's in your pipe, Ed? What are you smoking now / today?
Well, right today I am smoking Green Chalk's Tropical Sleigh Ride.
Ooh.
Mark Green, Gray Shocks. He says Green Shock, but Mark is a consummate grower. He's won a number of awards at the Emerald Cup, and so that's what I'm smoking.
Awesome. And it's Green Shocks is his farm, is
Yeah,
the brand. Green
yeah.
Shocks. Very cool. I'm gonna definitely look that up.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like, so you could grow tropical sleigh ride in Oakland and you could grow tropical sleigh ride in Texas, and it's not going to be the same result. It will be right.
It'll be more the same. I mean, it's going to have the same ratio, pretty much the same ratio. One might be stronger than the other, but pretty much it will have the same ratio of terpenes and cannabinoids and things like that.
Okay,
So more similar than dissimilar.
Right, right. Assuming obviously the stability of the genetics. But that's okay, more similar than dissimilar.
Well, I'm saying if it was the same genetics,
Right.
were the same genetics, yeah.
So, but it's funny because when, cannabis in Colorado always is, to me as a consumer, is very dry, versus, cannabis in, say, well, Humboldt. Is that just in my mind
Well,
that the environment,
they have a very dry environment in Colorado, so they have problem keeping bud properly moist.
okay. Okay. So that isn't in my head.
Yeah, but it isn't from the growing or the drying of it. It's that it dries out quickly in the air because there's so little moisture in the air there.
Okay. Okay.
So you have to really keep it, under
Mm-hmm.
controlled conditions so it stays properly moist for smoking.
That's right. That's one of the things I love about cannabis. I mean, it's a plant, and it responds to its environment. And I don't know. I think that's fascinating.
I told you that in a few years, most of the most of the cannabinoids that you smoke and terpenes you smoke won't necessarily be associated with a plant at all. What if they took the genes out of cannabis, the genes pertaining to cannabinoids, and
Yeah.
put them in yeast?
Wait, and put them in yeast.
Yeah. And then you brew the yeast. When you brew yeast, you brewing beer, right?
Uh-huh.
And the yeast would express the cannabinoids, and then you refine the cannabinoids. And the advantage of that is this. You know what? Now, a lot of people are going to be mad at me for this, but people really aren't interested in cannabis. They think they are, but you think about it for a second. You're really interested in the cannabinoids,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
How it makes you feel.
yeah, so that's what you're really interested in. And you know how they say that tobacco is just a carrier for for nicotine?
Yeah.
Well, then you could think of cannabis as just being a carrier for the cannabinoids and the terpenes, basically.
Right.
So what if you could take the genes that cannabis has for them and then put them in yeast? And the advantage of that is this. You've grown cannabis, right?
No, I haven't. I
Well,
mean,
you've
I've spent a lot of time with growers though, a lot of time.
So it takes ideal conditions and a lot of time and a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
You have to, and the expense of setting up a system if you're growing indoors or the space
Mhm.
outdoors. But what if you were brewing beer, and you could have like a 5-gallon container and put the yeast in the container, and in 4 or 5 days will have expressed the THC. So
I
you
mean,
wouldn't go through all, that whole thing. Now, okay, everybody likes smoking bud, or many people like smoking bud, and that you can't get that from the yeast. But anything dealing with concentrates or extracts,
mhm,
probably you could get most of those things.
that's
So,
incredible.
and so, I think that people at some point people will be able to buy specific yeast that have, oh, this will be just like gelato. This will be just like Gorilla Glue, and
Yeah.
so you and,
Wow.
and you buy the specific yeast, and then you know what? All you do is feed them sugar water.
Right.
That's it, and then later,
That's just amazing. Well, I mean, listen, I love it. I love it. You're still going to have people obsessed with growing this plant, though, and thanks in large part to you.
well, there'll be people, yeah, and then there'll be a whole group of people that are just obsessed with the best way to grow the yeast. Well,
Yeah, that's
the yeast if I do this, and this.
that's right. That's right. Wow. Wow.
Knowledge is a never-ending journey.
Absolutely. So what is the most common mistake that you see growers make?
Trying to do too much.
Mm.
Well, I'm sort of a slacker, so uh, so I
I
think,
love that.
and I think that people like sometimes put so much effort into it because they're trying to do so much, either so many things or want to grow the biggest garden, and then it's a lot of problem to grow it, and then the hardest part is the end, where it's the harvest and the drying and all of that. So,
Right. Right. That was going to be my next question is what phase do you see most growers fail? What's the riskiest?
I don't want to use fail, but the one that
Learn.
really is the hardest to accomplish right may be drying, because it takes a certain finesse to pull the plants in at the right
Mhm.
time, and then to dry them just right. And the bigger the scale, the more you have, the more variables come in.
Yeah. How many plants have you had under your management, direction, control, love at one time?
The most that I
Yeah.
ever had. Well,
Yes.
at one time I was a consultant at a 30-acre farm, and that was in Switzerland. And and
30 acres.
they were growing. What they did was they had this big greenhouse, and the greenhouse was just used for growing moms and clones. And when the clones were about a foot high, a little more than a foot high, they were taken out and put into the ground, and they had and given light deprivation every day. So the whole farm was on 12 hours all year, and we had 3 crops because each crop was only 75 days. So because we
Where was all that going?
well, it was in Switzerland. People smoke pot there.
Right. But I'm so naive about I know nothing about the European, how cannabis moves in Europe. And I know people smoke it, but I also, I feel like the laws are pretty strict. Are they
Well,
not? I
well,
mean, in some
it
countries.
depends what country you're in, and
Mhm.
it depends what time we were talking about. Now,
Mm,
in 99 and 2000, when I was there,
mhm.
the Supreme Court in Switzerland came out with a ruling that all the laws were illegal, so that there were no laws in Switzerland. No laws. There wasn't a law saying it was legal. There wasn't a law saying it was illegal. So that was the time when I was there, and so I thought,
Wow.
we
So,
thought gray area. But farmer, the farmer that I worked with, he eventually came to suffer a little bit because he was using refugees from the different parts of Yugoslavia, which was in a civil war at the time.
hmm,
And he only used the women, and he used them from all sides, from all the different, nationalities, and the women all got along. But he wouldn't hire men because the men would, if he had hired men from different nationalities, they would have gotten into fights and things like that.
right.
He went to prison for a year. Like, they wanted to get him for growing the pot, even though it was legal. So what they did, they said, well, he was hiring people who it was illegal for them to work. They didn't have green cards. They were refugees, but they weren't allowed to work.
Oh,
So So wait, if you're a refugee and you're not allowed to work, it's not like you carried all your belongings and and you're living with, when you leave, you don't carry a lot with you. You carry what you can carry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
so there were but the Swiss government um, convicted him of hiring people illegally. Now I wasn't illegal because he had hired my company, and my company had sent me, so I was okay.
God, wow. What a bummer that must have been. I
Yeah,
mean, just the
but
egregious, I'm sorry.
he was a nice guy.
Yeah. So you've got connections all around the world with cannabis, and you choose to stay here you choose to stay in Oakland and in America and in the California cannabis industry, and fight. Are you still active? Um, you
Politically,
know, politically, yeah.
yeah.
Good.
So the big thing, though, to me is uh, right now, the cannabis issue seems a little trivial because we're really fighting to see whether we're going to um, be remain a free country. And I've read, when you think about it, America isn't a democracy the way you would think that it is. Like, for instance, a person can lose a popular vote and be the president. Well, that's not really fair. That's not a democrat.
No.
And there are other things about it, people who weren't allowed to vote or were discouraged from voting. There, the way that we allow so much propaganda from people who have self-interest to play a part in our country. There are any number of really terrible things, but
Mhm.
um, they pale uh, in their negativity when as compared with the whole Trump thing. And I know that you're going to probably get a bunch of people who are telling you, how could he say that? He's the nicest guy in the world and everything. But the reality is he's a thief and he's an autocrat, and the people that he admires are all dictators. And
Mm-mm.
uh, he and his kids and his in-laws, they're all a bunch of creeps. And
Mm.
my prediction is that if he loses, he and his family are pretty much going to leave the country because
They're done.
they're risk indictment.
Ooh. Well, and they're also ticks, and they've sucked enough that where else can they go and take advantage of?
Well,
You can be big fish in small ponds, because
well,
they need that, I think, too.
there are places that they can go to. They'd be welcomed in Saudi Arabia and those Arabian Emirates and everything. I mean, that's run by dictators. They call them sheiks or whatever, sheikhs, or even emirs or emirs. But
Yeah.
there are a bunch of dictators, and so
Yeah.
um, I've been working more on that and been more concerned about that and the marijuana prisoners.
Got it.
And then when you look at what's going on in the world right now, like um, one thing that I think is that there are going to be food shortages all over the world because of both Georgia and Russia are not going to produce the amount of grain that they usually produce. So that's going to affect poor people all over the world, countries all over the world. So it's a time of deep concern. And let me just say, I'll say one other thing about this. You know, I've been alive longer than most of the people who are listening to your program. And in my lifetime, I've never seen a situation like this. There was a time when there was a standoff over nuclear weapons in Cuba and weapons and that. But, you know, at that time, both of the leaders, both the US, both Kennedy and I think it was Khrushchev, neither of them wanted war. They wanted to avoid war. They wanted to one up each other, but they didn't want war. And this is a very, very dangerous time. Nothing like it ever in my lifetime.
No, and which is why, and I'm not even saying this to be cheeky, why I'm so grateful to have marijuana.
Yeah.
You know, truly to help keep going and not be weighed down by the fear of what is real. It's not
Well,
imagined in our heads. We're watching it play out. And
yeah.
I'm grateful that you brought this up, Ed, you know.
You know, I do have a solution to it, a possible solution, which is to carpet bomb the whole area with joints and high
Yes.
protein snack bars and of course lighters, and so that you know, and especially the soldiers.
Yes, that's exactly how the tobacco companies won, you know. And this is a beautiful, healthy thing. Oh, I love this idea. We're in. Pro Cannabis Media will help with that.
So you know, the fighters, especially you doing it to the Russians, they say, you know, those Georgians, they're filth. You know, they don't deserve anything. We should give a rain down on them. And
Yeah.
they say, and you know what? We should do it tomorrow,
Yeah.
not today. Then you would have to, you know, carpet bomb with joints on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That would help American farmers too.
It would. It absolutely would.
Down so much, you know, but I think that
that
part of the thing is the reality of it is like especially for the soldiers, what the question is, I'm not saying so much for the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians know why they're there, but I don't think the Russians really do.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. And you've got to pity them. You know, I pity all soldiers. We're having a Texas Veterans Cannabis Policy Conference this weekend. And so it's, you know, our service members have been on my mind, and not, you know, just, you know, certainly our American service members. I'm an Army brat. Every man in my family served. But, you know, all over the world, you know, these men are sent to fight for a war that,
you know, the
only hurts them.
I'm thinking about first of all, I'll tell you why the Ukrainians are going to win.
Yes,
And
tell me.
And it's something that nobody has mentioned. The Russians are mostly conscripts. Some of them haven't reached their 21st birthday. But even if they have, they're young, and you know, they were living their lives until they said, you're putting on the government said, you're putting on a uniform and you're going to get in this tank and you're going to move, right?
Right.
So they haven't formed a whole concept of the realities of life. And by the time a person reaches 30 to 40 years of age, they have their conceptual formation has formed into a different layer. And so they're generally not as impetuous, think they can think things out more.
Mhm.
don't have as many personal worries. I mean, in terms of who they are and their being and all that stuff that, you know, people have when they're younger. And so these people are more equipped to fight. When I say responsibly, I'm talking about like to plan things out rather than to rush ahead. No,
Right.
we'll wait till they come right here. And then, you know, that they're going to be able to strategize more. And the Russian soldiers, that, you know, they're just, they don't know. And so think about this. You know, people say, oh, watch this. This is a picture of a Javelin missile hitting a Russian tank. And I'm not saying that there isn't a reason for this and that it's wrong. But you know, the three guys that are in that tank who were blown up, they would just young guys trying to live their lives, and now they're body parts.
Right.
And it's so sad, and it's so sad that I know that we're getting way off pop, but it's
That's
so
a,
sad. It's
you're Ed
so
Rosenthal. It's okay.
It's so sad that life is coming down to that. And you know, it reminds me, a lot of people have seen Game of Thrones. I
Mhm.
forget, you remember Arya? She was the princess, and she
Yeah.
turned out to be as mad as her, you know, her father was a mad king, right? And she
Right.
turned out at the end to be the mad princess. There was something in her that just went off, right?
Yes.
The city surrendered, and she still did it.
Yeah.
Well, I think of Putin that way.
Oh, yeah. He's going to burn it to the ground just to watch the flames.
Well, you know,
Because what else does he have?
only if he loses power. It's like the Honduran president, you know, who
Mm,
they extradited to the United States.
yeah.
As long as he was president, he was okay.
Yeah.
As soon as he was out of power, he was in shackles. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think Putin's going to be in power for a
love
long time,
Putin.
I think.
But you know, the Russians love Putin right now.
Mhm.
They think he's doing the right thing and that he's got it together, and they don't realize that they're, you know, the next phase. I think that you know, as much as the Russians are trying to plan it, I don't think that it's going to go as well for them as they think that it will.
Mm. Well, I just pray for an early end to this nonsense so we can, as a global community, move forward.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's not what the news wants.
It's, as I said, that's why, you know, just talking about marijuana right now isn't enough. I mean, the
Right.
main thing in terms of marijuana, we can talk about whether it's equitable or things. Thing I think about that is everybody should be allowed to grow.
Hmm.
You know, like they have all these restrictions. For instance, in Washington, people aren't allowed to grow. State of Washington, people aren't allowed to grow at all. In California, the county can say that you can't grow on your land, only in your house. Yeah. So
Hmm.
and it's county by county. So
Yeah.
it bifurcates California. So all those restrictions should be lifted, and all the prisoners should be out of prison. And those are the two things that I'm working on with marijuana. But this thing with the Ukraine, Russia and the Ukraine, you know,
Mm.
there were two countries in Europe that were always neutral: Sweden and Finland, and both of them have said that they want to join NATO now
Oh,
because they realize what a threat this is.
wow.
He's the mad king.
Ugh, wow. So Ed, before we wrap up, would you mind if I ask you some questions from the audience?
No, I don't mind
Okay.
at all.
You've been so amazing and generous with your time and wisdom, but there's more. People want to know, do you have any future plans to release some new seed genetics?
actually, like, I never have, but I'm in the process of doing that. And the first seed genetics that I'm going to release, the people should watch for this. In the next week, I'm going to announce free seeds from seeds that I bred.
What?
With the purchase of a couple of my books. And, because the US just said that seeds are legal. Do you know that?
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
now,
Say it again for those in the back who didn't hear
So-
you. Seeds are legal.
yeah. So in a couple of weeks, if you look on my sites, in a couple of weeks, we'll be offering free seeds with certain book purchases.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's like a 2-for-1 because the books are necessary to any cannabis lover's library. They really, really are. You'll be judged, if somebody comes over and they're looking at your book collection and you don't have an Ed Rosenthal in there. Oof, not a good look. Okay, so next question. Where do you see legalization in the US going?
It really depends on what happens with the election. I mean, it's become a political issue for the Republicans that they're going to be very anti.
Mm,
So I and I can give you a long-winded story about Biden if you'd like to hear it. But
I mean, I could, yes, you could read the phone book.
my
Let's,
brother and I differ by 5 years, and my brother's older. And when he graduated college, people were listening to Kingston Trio, The Letterman, folk rock groups like that, commercial folk rock groups.
uh,
And the big hit hadn't happened yet. That happened in 66 and 67 that created a rift, like a tearing apart. It was over, part of it was Vietnam and the Vietnamese War. And then people got grokked, which would be the equivalent of woke, when they started using pot. And now my brother, just a few years before, that whole group never experienced it. And Biden was in that group. Now, if he had been in college just a few years later, he would have experienced this total rift in society, the whole Vietnam thing,
yeah.
everything that was going on. And, people getting high for the first time, the music changing, like
Yeah.
to the English invasion and then, stuff here.
Oh, yeah. Stones.
So
Things got a little
the
dirtier.
problem
Good
is,
way.
that Biden never experienced it. That is the problem. And he doesn't understand it. And,
Mhm.
but, Cory Booker during the primary campaign, during the debate, Booker,
Oh, yeah.
Biden says, well, we might decriminalize it or something like that. And Booker says, when I heard that, I thought you had just been smoking something. He was so far
Yeah.
deep rim. Okay, that
Yeah.
was fine 10 years ago.
Yeah.
If Hillary Clinton had said that 10 years ago, she would have been president,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Right.
But it's not good for the times.
No, it's not good for the times. It's not
So-
good enough. We're done with humans' life being taken.
So that's
plant.
the problem with Biden. And
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
Biden doesn't, and the Democrats, probably the only Democrat who really understands it and must be just biting his lip about it, as I said, is Cory Booker. I mean, when I say these prominent people, he understands that if the Democrats said pot legal, that they'd win the election.
Yeah. Yeah. But yet there's still some, folks on the wrong side of the history. And it's just embarrassing at this point. It's embarrassing.
On the wrong side, it's just they don't understand. They don't, it's not history. They don't understand current events.
Right. I agree with you. However, don't you think there should be some level of responsibility there as a public servant to kind of get in the know and read the research and listen to your opponents? That's makes me sick.
Well,
willful ignorance, I think.
Sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
True. But look at us, we're having so much fun. Why can't they? I'm just being silly. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, Ed. I hear what you're saying. And I'm so grateful for just wisdom. So we have one last question before we have to say goodbye to Ed Rosenthal. Hopefully you'll come back though. And this last question is from me.
I'd love to come back and do a gardening show.
That would be amazing. Come back for the webinar. Come back for the webinar in 2 weeks.
Hold up the book.
Yes. Okay.
So
everyone,
I just want to tell folks that this book is both for beginners, and even if you've been growing for 20 years, you are going to get material out of this book. It's written in such a way that everybody can understand it.
Yes.
But you know what? It's
beautiful.
It's an instruction booklet for a camera. When you first read it, you learn how to turn the camera on and take some pictures. And then after you use a camera bit, you go back to the book and learn what capabilities the camera has. And this book treats it like that. You get what you need from the book at the time, but this book goes deep so that when you need the other information, it's there. And it was written, there were 12 PhDs involved in this.
Wow. I can tell it is very, it's heavy.
But then I took the information that they gave and I made sure that it was totally understandable. So if they used phrases or words that people usually wouldn't understand, I translated that so that the book is totally understandable, but it's being used in colleges throughout the country.
Incredible. I mean, as I said, if you love cannabis and you don't have this book, whether you grow or not, you've got to have it. It makes you feel that much more connected, I think, to the plant and all of its beauty. Because that's one thing that you've always been known for, Ed, is the bringing out the beauty in the plant. And it makes so much sense that you started out as just a gardener because you loved the plants and it wasn't about the cannabis. But you bring out the beauty in plants with the photos that you choose, with the photos that you take, the way you talk about it. And you are, if there was a Mount Rushmore of cannabis, you would be the first face in that rock, sir. There's no doubt about that. So we have got to take another break for a message from our sponsors. When we come back, though, we will have Mark Huard of Hole in the Wall Cultivation, who will be doing the webinar in 2 weeks on April 27th at 8 p.m. What you're about to see, though, during the break is another snippet from my show on High Times TV, Grow House. It's essentially two Texans out in the world of legal cannabis, just acting a fool, learning everything we can, getting in the information that we need so we can bring it back to our people in Texas, because we don't have this in Texas. And so that's really the point of the whole show. So what you're about to see is an excerpt from when my husband Patrick and I went to a 420 friendly yurt camping experience in Palm Springs. So enjoy. The yurts. Being the 420 traveler that I am, I Google 420 friendly bed and breakfasts and places, and this place pops up and I'm instantly intrigued. I'm like, what? It's a yurt in the middle of a golf course. And it's so beautiful. It's like you're in the freaking 420 Shire.
Yes.
And it's 420 friendly.
In the middle of pristine golf course, Canvas Cottages.
One of the benefits of staying is you get canvas cottages that you can hotbox, and also you get this golf cart. I wish I had mushrooms. That's all I
Go to Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Coachella Valley, go. It's so easy and it's just so much fun.
With those things that we did, those adventures that we went on, there's still more coming. They've been approved for the first coffee shop, cannabis coffee shop. These are really, really exciting things that are pretty cutting edge, and they're happening right out there in that sweet little desert space.
Yeah.
So get your tuchus to Coachella Valley.
Patrick, we slept in a tent last night.
In the middle of a golf course?
Yeah, in the Coachella Valley.
We spent a day doing cannabis adventures, and then we came to a 420 friendly camp out.
Yeah, we definitely hotbox that yurt.
Up top! We're bringing our Crontrage next time.
Definitely bringing our Crontrage next time.
Some days I'm like, fuck spitting, nah, just kidding. I'm always crashing like my phone cause it's bug ridden.
He's about this tall and he looks like Santa Claus. Bruce is a hoot. I voted for Hillary. I'm still on probation right now. There's Dr. Hardison.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.
Hi, my name is Janice O'Reilly. I'm a partner with AAF CPAs, a national CPA firm that specializes in cannabis. We're based out of Boston. We have been working with Adaptive HR for several years and have recommended them to our clients, who have all been extremely happy with their service and their responsiveness.
Calling All Growers with Liz Grow is supported by the Grow Kit from stylelighting.shop, Adaptive HR, built for your cannabis business, Revolutionary Clinics, where the patient comes first, by Accounting Buds, your accountant in cannabis, and by Salient Video Surveillance Systems for today and tomorrow's security.
Welcome back to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I am joined with master cultivator and educator Mark Huard of Hole in the Wall Cultivation, who will be giving us a webinar. We'll be giving us gold in the webinar in 2 weeks on April 27th at 8 p.m. So welcome back, Mark. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing awesome. So give me a sneak peek into what we'll be learning in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about some seeds and how I start seeds and how to take, I'll just show some. So, how to choose your genetics from, good geneticists, trusted seeds, trusted genetics from, across the country, around the world, around the globe. There's so many genetics out there right now. So it's incredible to have access to all this stuff now, things that I've never had access to before in my life. I was just listening to Ed on the show, and his books. I was always so scared years ago going to the store and buying books and stuff, but that was the only way I could get knowledge, because I wouldn't go on the internet. So reading books and stuff, and that was the way you learned. And, he's puts out some material. So thanks to Ed and everything he's done and the sacrifices he's made for the community. And I mean, it's amazing. And I thank you, because I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing if, you didn't start doing what you were doing a long time ago. So thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's really beautiful. The growing community is so strong, and he truly built it. It's not an overstatement to say, he's written over 20 books, over 1 million copies sold. And how many copies have been stolen? How many copies have been borrowed? He taught the world to grow. So I think that's very cool of you to give him those props, Mark. So
that's where his books went. I had a friend who was looking to grow, 12 years ago, and lent them some books to read and never got them back.
And you're kind of like, man, I would like those books back, but also they're going to a good cause.
Yep.
But his latest book, though, I love it. Again, I don't grow yet. Okay. I will forever be a student, even when I do start growing, but this is his latest book. And it's so cool. It's like, I don't know if you could tell, it's like a hologram, like holographic cover. So like, if you love cannabis, you just need this book to have on your table, because it just looks dope. But I'm going to go step by step from this book.
I want to pick up the book just to get my hands on some seeds and find some knowledge out of that thing. So,
right.
That you're talking about that seed release. That's exciting.
Can you, what? Oh my God. What
free seeds? Nobody does that. Nobody gives away free seeds.
No,
that's great.
Yeah. Well, if you're getting free seeds, there's something wrong with them. Okay. So, yeah, right. But Ed Rosenthal would never, ever pollute the gene pool, ever. So you're getting like the best seeds. So yeah, maybe I'll grow with Ed's first. I don't know. What's funny? It's like sometimes fantasizing about growing is enough. I don't know. Like, I feel like it brings my blood pressure down a little bit, and it calms me down. It makes me excited. And, I can even kind of like smell my grow in my mind.
Once you start, there's
weird? No. So how big of a grow do you have right now?
Well, I have
or how many plants?
Limits. So, I just have really small flower rooms, a couple of plants that we grow, what we use for, make my wife's salves and stuff like that, and pain salves for, healing relief and everything. So, and then, just for our own self, and it's just, I share a lot of cannabis as well. So, I mean, this weekend, we have a big event that we're going to be doing called the Carney Roll. It's a big music event. It's 3 days. An Easter weekend. So like I'm actually stashing Easter eggs all over the place. So if you come and find me, if you find one of these, you get a free gift. So I love sharing stuff with the community as well, and just giving back to people. And, it makes me feel good, and watching people smile and be happy. And that's where it's at as far as I go. So
that's incredible. And I certainly would never, this is my number one rule, because of working in media, working in cannabis media, and being obsessed with growing and growers, and spending most of my time with them. You never want to blow up anybody's spot. So if I ever ask you a question that you can't answer, we just pass and we move on, and it is no big deal, because I'm in Texas and you can't say anything. So therefore you can say everything, I guess. That's my attitude. But you're in Massachusetts, you have a commercial license, you've got different rules around that license. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that just want to let you know that between me and you.
And I just want to be clear too, like we're working on our licenses so I can go legal. Like I have to stay within the state laws and stuff as a home grower, as a personal grower, you know. I had my medical card as well, you know, to be able to grow and provide and be a caregiver for people as well in the state of Massachusetts, which is a cool program they had set up as well. But yeah, I mean, it's to get into the legal industry, you know, I don't have millions of dollars, you know, we're trying to build slowly, you know, and it's just being patient and waiting for the right opportunities to come along. And, you know, things are happening for us. And, you know, I mean, I'm on a show with Ed Rosenthal right now. So, I mean, he was just on before me. It's crazy. So never thought I'd be where I am, you know. It's Jim Belushi's been on the show. So, I mean, it's amazing. You know, I never just being in the same community as those people. It means the world to me. Never thought I'd be sitting here. So it's great.
Wow. Well, you know, you certainly earned your spot. And, you know, you helped push that boulder up the hill, and, you know, you grew for a long time, I'm sure, not, you know, under the radar of the state. You know, that's how cannabis gets here. It's not just something that happens overnight. Once a state flips a switch, right? There's a legacy market that has built this industry, this $1 billion industry. And, you know, many of those legacy folks have been hurt by the war on drugs. Some are still in jail. Some aren't with us anymore because of the war on drugs. You know, the gangs fight over drugs because they are illegal. And I use the word drugs, and I'm talking about a plant here, you know. So I'm just not going to get on that soapbox, Mark. But yeah, I'm really, it's just amazing to be able to have these kinds of conversations with growers about growing and actually learn about growing, but then talk about activism and talk about, you know, the real stuff, the stuff that really drives us. Yes. So we are unfortunately out of time. We went over a little bit, but I love it, and it's okay. I know nobody's complaining about it. I just want to remind everyone of the webinar in 2 weeks. Please reserve your spot. The space is limited because you will have one-on-one access to Mark and, you know, his knowledge. He's going to be teaching you very, very, you know, specific techniques and tricks and different ways of thinking about cultivation, you know, that will instantly make your game better, no matter what level you're on. So Mark, thank you so much for giving your time and, you know, all of your knowledge to growers everywhere.
Thank you for having me on again. You know, I can't wait. 2 weeks, looking forward to it. So it'll be fun.
That's right. April 27th, 8 p.m. We want to thank Ed Rosenthal again, the guru of ganja. I mean, he's the saint. He's the cannabis saint. He's sainted. He's been sainted. It's happening. Ed Rosenthal, we love you. And we are so grateful to have had you on Calling All Growers. Calling All Growers is produced by Cannabis Media and Grow House Media with generous support from our sponsors. I'll see you at the workshop in 2 weeks on April 27th at 8 p.m. Until then, I'm Liz Grow, and I'm calling all growers.
The yurts. Being the 420 traveler that I am, I Google 420 friendly bed and breakfasts and places, and this place pops up and I'm instantly intrigued. I'm like, what? It's a yurt in the middle of a golf course. And it's so beautiful. It's like you're in the freaking 420 Shire.
Yes.
And it's 420 friendly.
In the middle of pristine golf course, canvas cottages.
One of the benefits of staying is you get canvas cottages that you can hotbox, and also you get this golf cart. I wish I had mushrooms. That's all I
Go to Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Coachella Valley, go. It's so easy and it's just so much fun.
With those things that we did, those adventures that we went on, there's still more coming. They've been approved for the first coffee shop, cannabis coffee shop. These are really, really exciting things that are pretty cutting edge, and they're happening right out there in that sweet little desert space.
Yeah.
So get your tuchus to Coachella Valley.
Patrick, we slept in a tent last night.
In the middle of a golf course?
Yeah, in the Coachella Valley.
We spent a day doing cannabis adventures, and then we came to a 420 friendly campout.
Yeah, we definitely hotbox that yurt.
Up top. We're bringing our Crontrage next time.
Definitely bringing our Crontrage next time.
Some days I'm like, fuck spitting. Nah, just kidding. I'm always crashing like my phone cause it's bug ridden.
He's about this tall and he looks like Santa Claus. Bruce is a hoot. I voted for Hillary. Still on probation right now. There's Dr. Hardison.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.